Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. So it's me, Juan Pablo. Now I want to get into the 100% finance deal matrix. I get a question asked often. Hey, well, what strategy should I do first based upon my situation, Juan Pablo? That is a very great question. So we created a quadrant, a matrix, if you will, to help you make that determination yourself. Okay, so I want you to take a look at the deal matrix, and I want you to decide what strategy you should move forward with first. So let's get into it. So I said there's multiple resources that you can use to get started in real estate and in any business endeavor. I said time, credit, money. You might have heard energy and so forth, knowledge. But basically it boils down to two. Do you have the time? Yes or no? And do you look good on paper? Yes or no? Time can include a multitudinous amount of things. It can encompass the following: your amount of hours. It can also include your know-how, your intellect, and so forth. Looking good on paper can include your FICO score, you actually having the paper. Looking good on paper can also include your personal financial statements looking pretty, your W-2s, you have documented income, you have positive tax returns, the whole 9 yards. So do you have the time? Yes or no? Do you look good on paper, and do you have the paper? Yes or no? So let's get into it. So these are the resources: time and paper. So this is very easy, but I'm going to ask you a question. If you have no time and you have no paper, what do you have? No deal, right? If you don't have something of value to bring to the table, why on earth would anyone want to partner with you or invest with you? So if you don't have the time, whether it's the hours or the know-how to be the general partner, if you don't have the paper, meaning the down payment or the FICO score or documented income or tax returns, how can you expect to do any deals? You got to bring something to the table, ladies and gentlemen. My friend, you have to. You cannot expect to receive something for nothing, okay? So get that out your head. I want to make sure you bring something to the table. Now, if you don't have the paper, that's cool. You can still get paid. That brings you to the next point. So if you have no paper but you have the time, you can get started with creative financing. What's creative financing? Creative financing can be wholesaling, doing lease options, subject to seller financing, wraparound mortgages. Creative financing. As long as you have the time, but no paper, meaning no credit, no cash, cool. You have the time, you can use creative financing. Okay, now what if you got the paper, but you don't have the time? Well, that's, my friend, you want to partner with me, a general partner, myself. But you can partner with other reputable general partners or syndicators as well. So I reached out to a lot of people, like in the New York market, because I used to reside there, so I forged a lot of relationships. They have the paper. They just don't have the time. So the paper, they have the out-of-pocket cash, the W-2s, good tax returns, great debt-to-credit ratio, great FICO scores, but they don't have the time. They only have the interest of investing in real estate, but they understand the importance of it. They perceive it as a valuable asset. They just don't want to spend the time learning it. They just don't want to spend the time putting the hours in, okay? But they look good on paper. They got the credit, the money, and so forth. So if you're that person, you can be what's called a limited partner. And you can do a limited partnership with a general partner like myself. And if you are interested in investing with me in my market, which is right behind me, behind this window, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, then of course, check out our resources page to learn more about getting started with partnering, okay? But you can be a limited partner, and it could be somewhat hands-off. You're a limited partner, you're only limited to your capital investment. No risk, so if something goes wrong with the property and someone's trying to get sued, your ownership is limited. Your risk involved is limited because you're only putting up capital. It's the general partner's responsibility. The general partner will be the one left holding the bag. So this guy right here, if you happen to partner with me and things go south, I will be held responsible, not you. So if you have somewhat of a low risk tolerance, or you may be that person, for example, you may be that person that says, hey, I want to get started, but I just don't want to learn all this stuff, Juan Pablo. I got the money, the credit, I'll partner with you. And that can be a great partnership. So you just have to find someone who has the know-how, who's credible as well as reputable. Someone that's likable and credible that you can trust. Okay? So that's the person for you. So we talked about no paper, no time, no deal. No paper but got time, creative financing. So that's wholesaling, lease options subject to seller financing, wraparound mortgages, and the like. Now we talked about you got paper but no time. That's limited partnerships. And next, and last, certainly not least, is you have paper and you have time. You, my friend, I like to call you the total package. You're the all-star quarterback, meaning you get the ball hiked to you by the center, and you can decide what you want to do with the ball. You can throw it deep to your wide receiver. You can wholesale it. You can hand it off to a limited partner, for example, or you can do a lease option, or you can tuck that ball and run with it like Cam Newton, right? And use the buy and hold strategy yourself. So pretty much you get to cherry pick. You get to do whatever you want to do. The deal comes to your lap, you can keep it, and it can be the most profitable deal for you. Or if you say, hey, I'm entertaining this other deal, I don't have resources for this next deal. It's profitable, and not as profitable as the deal I currently have in the contract. But hey, I still make money off of it by doing a limited partnership. Or hey, I still make money off of it by wholesaling it. Then you can do that. Okay? But that includes you having knowledge of how to, meaning you got the time, meaning you have the hours, the knowledge, the connections, the resources, and the network. That's the got time aspect. Or you got the paper. The paper means you have the out-of-pocket cash, the W-2s, the good tax returns, that the credit ratio, and great FICO scores. So it's the world's your oyster. You get to do what you want. Now just keep in mind, I keep saying W-2s a lot. W-2s aren't required to do syndications or buy and hold strategy. I don't have W-2s. And I mentioned I'm buying a property tomorrow, a 9-unit, right? My 72nd unit, another 9-unit. But it's not predicated, it's not required, I should say, for me to have documented income W-2s. But I do have tax returns, and I do have personal financial statements, and I do have rent rolls and so forth to show my portfolio. And I have profit and loss statements as well for my business, online business, property management business, and so forth. Okay? You still have to prove documented income nonetheless. Okay? Just want to make sure that's understood. But you want to graduate to the person in which you're the total package, the quarterback. So you might want to get started with wholesaling. So now you have to make the determination, my friend. If you have time, but you don't have paper, wholesale. Then once you wholesale a couple deals, then you may say, hey, I've increased my intellect, my know-how, and my resources as well. You know what? I improved my credit. I say there was some small down payment, not a full down payment, but I might want to do a lease option, which I prefer to do, or subject to. Subject to is when you get a property under contract and you get the title transferred to your name, to your business name, but the seller still owns the mortgage and you're just paying the bills on the seller's behalf. But I prefer to just do a lease option, because with a lease option, you take control over the property, the seller still owns it, you get the profit by how you manage it, and the worst comes to worst, if you don't want to close on the deal, just get the property back to the seller. No harm, no foul. Only thing you risk is your option amount, which is kind of like a down payment of how much money you put towards the property. It's like good faith showing, hey, I'm going to buy this in the future. So I'm going to put an option to buy at a later date, okay, which is always negotiable. So I recommend, if you have the time but no paper, wholesaling, and then graduate into lease options. So just to give you some sort of rubric, you should wholesale 3 deals, and the 4th deal, try to do a buy and hold. Or do a buy and hold, not try, just do it. So if you got the time but no paper, wholesale, buy and hold. Whether it's a lease option or buying it using a conventional mortgage. Okay? And you always want to use the proceeds that you make off wholesaling to make yourself prettier where your credit's concerned, to save for down payments, and the like. You want to reinvest your earnings. If you don't need it, don't eat it. And remember, these are mantras or principles you should abide by as a real estate investor who's doing it the 100% finance way. So you can get that cash flow, baby. Okay? Now, if you have the time, and again, you have the paper as well, then excellent. You should be rocking and rolling. You should be closing a deal a month, or at least 2 deals a year. Okay? Whatever your time permits. Now, if you have the paper but no money, limited partnership. You have to reach out to someone who has the time and a portfolio. How do you find that person? Networking events, shaking hands, rubbing elbows, pretty much. Or reaching out to someone online that you trust. Like if it's me, for example, and see what's the requirements to invest with an individual like myself. And again, if you're interested, check the resource below to learn more. Okay, but I want you all to be the total package. Okay, now you may want to be able to start doing your own buy and hold deals. You might say, hey Juan, I'm not able to do syndications because I don't have the experience yet, but I do got some time and I do have some capital. What should I do? But not to the point I can do multifamily. Cool, do single family residential. That's what I did. I had the capital, a little bit of capital. I had the credit because I fixed my credit up. And I had good tax returns. I had a sound job working for the government. So I'll do a lot of just buy and hold strategies by myself. Now it's to the point where I can do whatever I want. And here's the sidebar, right? So you might be thinking, well, Juan Pablo, do you wholesale multifamilies? It's a great question. And this has always been my mindset. Wholesaling means you get a property under contract, you assign your contract for someone else for a fee. But with multifamily, if I get a property under contract, maybe they just pay me for finding this deal through equity, as well as give me an acquisition fee, which is similar to an assignment fee for wholesaling. So instead of just assigning it and forfeiting that 19% equity as a general partner, I should just be the general partner. Doesn't that make more sense? Wouldn't I rather just get a property under contract, find limited partners, and then they pay me 90% for structuring the deal, put my time and so forth, the connections. Again, time is equal to hours, knowledge, connections, resources, and the network, the whole 9 yards. If I put the time in, why wholesale it? I can still get my wholesale fee under the guise of an acquisition fee, plus 90% ownership. Plus, if I have additional capital, I can get paid through being a limited partner, property management, the whole 9 yards. So we get into that later. But that's important for you to be the all-star. So can you wholesale multifamily? Yes, you can. You most definitely can. But I prefer you not to wholesale it and you get some skin in the game, you get some equity. So that way you start building up your cash flow. And you don't have to put up any money, so to speak. All right? Great. So that's the deal matrix, guys, ladies and gentlemen. You got paper, you got time. That really determines how you should get started. Okay, so check out the deal matrix and you make the firm decision today. Okay, I got the time, but I don't got the paper. I'm going to start on wholesaling. Or you know what? I got the paper, but I don't have the time. I'm going to do a limited partnership, but I'm going to get started right away. But you know what? Juan Pablo, I got some time and I got some paper. I'm going to be an all-star. I'm going to go out there, find some deals, and decide whether I'm a wholesaler or keep in my portfolio. It's that simple. You just have to make that determination of how you're going to get started, and you got to stick with it. And again, like I said before in previous videos, focus on one strategy at a time until you got to perfect it, until you got to master it. Then you can move on to the next type of property, the next deal. You follow? That's how you want to do it, my friend. Okay? Stick with one strategy, get on autopilot, then start incorporating other strategies. That's why I said you might want to do a wholesale deal, another wholesale deal, another wholesale deal, and then consider doing a buy and hold if you got the time but no paper. But if you do have some paper and you got some time, then you might want to say, okay, I'm going to do buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. I'm going to stick with the residential for a couple deals like I did, and then move forward with the multifamily. Got it? Good. So stay tuned for the next video, my friend. God bless you.